Hi, everyone. It's Carol here, the founder of the Sleep Success Academy. I'm here with another great interview. I'm excited to interview Flo today. We are going to talk about her new book, There's a Leak in My Boat. But before we go there, Flo, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to write this book?
I think that from the time I was young, I was always interested in healing. So that's why I became a nurse, a lactation consultant, a craniosacral therapist, heart-centered therapist. I just kind of took all these curriculums because I really wanted to heal myself. And I wanted the world to be a kinder, more compassionate, healing kind of a place. So it's always been my passion, really. So why did I write the book when I did is because I had enough healing behind me, numero one, so that you can kind of write about stuff that happened in the past from the current perspective, where you've really come to grips with everything that's kind of happened. And you can see how life kind of panned out for you and how you learned from everything and so on. And when I had been planning to kind of make a difference in a different way, being a coach like yourself and teaching workshops. And then COVID came down. And a lot of people didn't mind working on the computer on Zoom with clients. And I did. I just didn't warm up to that. I'm a person who, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm older or I don't know. I just really like in-person stuff. As far as you, especially brand new clients that you don't know very well, right? Yeah. You just want to be able to pick up on everything. So I remember thinking, and we didn't have any idea it was going to take 2 years or more. We just knew it was going to be maybe a few months, right? At the time.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, well, I'm all geared up with all this passion. What am I going to do with it? So I tapped and I waited for the universe to give me a spark. And when it did, when I got the download from, I call it divine love, you can call it universal energy, you can call it anything you like, but there's a power out there that we can connect to that really helps us in our lives and helps us to be the best that we can be. And I got this download saying, write a book about your experiences and what helped you along the way. And in particular, about the fact that it does take little steps at a time. Because I think when people have chronic illness, the subtitle of the book is my challenges and gifts in my journey of chronic illness. And because chronic illness is such a big thing, people are often looking for, I want a Band-Aid so I don't suffer. I want the quick fix. And generally speaking, people who've had a lot of chronic illness, especially from a younger age, there are reasons that set them up for that. And it's not an instant, change like that. I mean, if it did, someone would have invented it by now, I think. So I really wanted to inspire people that it's okay to take it a step at a time because you're going to learn from every step that you take. So I wrote the book to help people with chronic illness. I thought, maybe I meant to kind of do this in a reader way, so you have a bigger audience rather than the one-on-one with coaching. Yeah. And it gave me life for a year because it took me a year to write it. And as you know, COVID hung on. And so then there was another 6 months of publishing and what have you, and then eventually launching the book. So.
Wow. And so for the viewers, I met Flo through, we call it NEFT, the National EFT Training Institute in Canada. So because we both train under Nancy, the founder. And so when Flo's book came out, I was all excited. I was like, oh, I'm going to read a book that someone wrote it that I know. And so I picked up her book and it took me a little while to get into it for some reason, just busy life with things. And when I started reading it, what happened to me, because you said it was your journey through your chronic illness, but I don't have chronic illness. Yet I read the book so slow because not like, yes, chronic illness has a long journey to heal, but I think also, other things that we might be traumatized by can take a long time to heal. And your book really helped me slowly to realize that healing is really a journey. healing from anything is a journey. And as we start processing the emotions and releasing all that stuff, it took me 2 months to read your book, because I would read a chapter and then I would sit with it. I would read the next chapter and I would sit with it. And I was like, someone else that has had emotional things was able to release it all using energy work, which I love. Cranial sacral therapy. I don't know what that is, but I want to talk about that today, because that felt like the most amazing thing ever. And I can't wait to find a therapist in this area, because we need a holistic approach to healing. And you really bring that in here. Like, you really had like your coach, you had the heart center therapy, you traveled. So I'd like to talk about all your travels. Like, you took your healing seriously. And so I want to talk about that. That's my next question. You traveled so far. I don't know that I would have traveled or had the money to travel, but you were really serious about all of this. And I want to talk about your traveling. Like, what was the best trip that you had? Which one was the most meaningful? There's just so much in your travelings.
Yeah. And the only reason I traveled was because what I wanted to do brought me there, and there was no other way. So initially, when I was a lactation consultant, 3 times the international conference, which I went to because it was my only way of keeping up in the field. There was only 20 of us in Canada.
Oh, wow.
We were pioneers. If we wanted to hear and be with other people who were doing what we were doing, I needed to go to the international conference. And it was pretty well always in the States. And I went to a variety of different cities, but it was in Scottsdale, Arizona 3 times. Now, the first time I went, someone said, the Grand Canyon is 2 hours away. And I thought, cripes, I'm here all the way from Eastern Canada, and I'm going to miss seeing the Grand Canyon. So the next time it was there, I went to the Grand Canyon. And the third time it was there, still a lactation consultant, I decided that someone said there's a beautiful little village called Sedona, and I went there. And even though I wasn't, I'd taken healing touch by that time, so I understood a bit about energy. And I realized that there was lots of energetic stuff going on in Sedona, but it was really, really pretty. And I got such a good impression of that place. So I would say probably my most memorable one was going to Sedona for heart-centered therapy, because I had brought my relationship with my dad, and I tried so many different ways to heal from that relationship. And I'd made the decision to forgive, but forgiveness is not a one-time deal. Oh, I forgive, and that's that. Yeah, I wish, but no, that's not going to happen. But I was determined to do it. And I had gone to a psychologist, I'd written letters, prayed a lot, talked to spiritual advisors. And anyways, heart-centered therapy was all about using the wisdom of your heart to heal stuff in your life. And that first course, you could bring an issue. Any issue, could be your health, could be a relationship. So I thought, okay, I really want to move forward. Even though my dad had died, that didn't make any difference. Someone's gone, but the effect's still there.
Still there, yeah.
So I knew Sedona was beautiful. And I think she only had it in 2 places at the time. And it was an easy pick for Sedona. And a lot of the course is in a hotel, but some of it, you have time to take what you've started and then go out in the nature, which it's in Red Rock country. Sedona is, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I'm just going to show you a few pictures in my office.
Oh, wow.
So I know there's a bit of a, what do you call it, glare, sort of. And here's another one.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm not doing a good job here, but you get the drift. It's Red Rock country, and it's dry and it's sunny. And we went, they always pick the low times. That'd be in the middle of the winter, where it was really cold at night because it's kind of desertish and nice and warm in the day. So it was beautiful to be able to walk there. And so I can remember after I'd done some work on my dad, I went out on Bell Mountain and I found myself a nice private little ledge. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I was connected to the earth. so much, and to the divine.
Yeah.
And I just mulled things over as I just breathed and watched everything. And a lot of aha moments happened then. It kind of started at the hotel
Yeah.
when I realized that I could not come to a place of compassion for my dad as an adult. And somehow I had the inspiration to see him as a very, very small child. And boy, did he have a lot of traumas in his life. Oh my God, if you read the book, anybody who reads the book will see it. There's a reason he was the way he was, right?
Yeah.
Now, I used to think that to a certain degree, he had a choice about how he behaved with us. And I think that when you have a really messed up lens on the world because of when you're younger, you see things differently.
Yeah.
Totally differently. And you don't see it the way the rest of the world does.
No, you see it through the lens that you carry. And what was really interesting about, I remember that part in the book, because I was just like in awe of how you sat there and opened your heart center to see the beauty of him as a child and feel the compassion, because without compassion, we don't heal.
Yeah.
And sometimes for me, part of my healing journey has been really hard and wanting to hold on to they did wrong to me, because that was like my lens of the world. But once you start seeing the other lens, and then with your lens, you can make sense of it.
Yeah.
And then you can have the compassion and the healing.
Yes.
And that chapter really, like the way you wrote it, it's not even what you wrote about, but is the way you wrote it really makes us see how you can get there. Because a lot of people, like you said, want to get there, but don't know how to get there.
Yes.
And the way you wrote this book, that's what I want people to know. Like, if you really want to read a book that takes you through the steps, but it not in a step-by-step, you know what I mean? But it shows you that when you open up the heart center, when you let the love in, but in order to allow love in, you have to be ready. You have to be at that spot.
Yes.
And that's exactly what you did. You put your dad as a little child and you saw the beauty in him as a child, because the way he was as an adult was because of what happened as a child. And I was just, that for me opened up me. It opened up my heart to the people in my life. I think that's why it took so long to read your book, is because I was doing my own healing as I read your book. I think there was a part of that happening, that if you're ready for that, your book will give people that, because it really is a step-by-step of how you heal yourself in an energetic, emotional level. Right? So that was beautiful. And I really want to go to conscious EFT, because we're conscious EFT. I don't know what you call us. We're like
junkies.
Yeah, junkies of conscious
In a good way.
In a good way. Because just like you said, I know we've had a conversation about this before, where you said it wasn't until you got to conscious EFT and the role of the nervous system in our healing that we then started healing. Because I did a lot of tapping too before I got onto conscious EFT.
Yeah.
And I was always like looking at getting rid of the bad, getting rid of the bad, getting rid of the bad. And I never integrated the nervous system in that. And once I started studying the nervous system and how it works, like my life changed. And so my approach with my clients when they're not sleeping, because you're not sleeping if your nervous system is activated. You're not healing if your nervous system is activated. You're not really functioning if your nervous system is activated. So tell me about how you discovered the nervous system work and what brought you to conscious EFT with Nancy and the National EFT Training Institute.
Yeah. I think I never really realized that the trauma that you have when you're young lives in your body somewhere, and part of your body is your nervous system.
Right.
If you grew up always waiting for the other shoe to drop and always being super cautious and, just somehow dumbing yourself down in some way or disappearing, I mean, that has an effect. And I remember when I got married, because I got married at 22, adored my husband. We had a wonderful first year, but I had this foolish idea that I was leaving everything behind me.
Yeah.
And once the all those lovely neurotransmitters that go with falling in love and the honeymoon period. Well, sooner or later, life has its challenges. And we started pushing on different red button things that we didn't realize that we were pushing on. And all of a sudden, it felt less happy, less safe, and so on. And I had thought that I had left everything behind. And it didn't occur to me when things started to go awry a bit. They weren't hugely awry, but somewhat. It didn't occur to me that it was because of trauma in the past. I had no conscious awareness.
Right.
None. You know, I would think to myself, I'm just not being seen and heard, you know, and blame it on the other person, you know, kind of thing. Eh? And yeah. And what was the question again, Carol? I don't mind this.
So as you learn about the nervous system and how, like you just said, right? How did you discover that, and how did it change and brought you to NEFT?
Yeah. I realized as I was taking the courses that very often I cognitively knew things, but for some reason it didn't change how I lived my life.
Right.
And it didn't change how I lived my life because I wasn't aware of the mountain of beliefs. I didn't realize, for instance, that my worth came from doing, and other than that, I wasn't worth anything. I didn't realize that. Now I look back and I think, yeah, of course, of course that was a belief. But at the time I didn't. At the time I was just running on the treadmill as fast as I can, doing as much as I could. Otherwise I wasn't worth shit. Am I allowed to say this on the
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
So I think that the buried beliefs and the way I constantly responded to challenges, which is in fight or flight or freeze.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize that. So when my mold neurotoxins and my mind, my body, everything went hell in a basket really badly in my 60s, at one point I was asking God, I said, you know, if things aren't going to get better than this, please just take me, you know? And sure enough, God listens. And I did a meditation class that was specifically for people with chronic illness of any kind. It could be physical, it could be mental or emotional. And it was taught in that way, very trauma informed. And that was the first time that I realized, oh, you can change your brain. Neuroplasticity is possible, right?
I know, right?
How exciting is that? Now, it was long and slow, and I don't know how I found out about the tapping summit, you know, but I found that out and spent 2 hours a day for 10 days and realized that even though my chronic pain wasn't lessening, goodness, I felt calmer, right? Yeah. So that took me to my next step, trying to find places where I could learn about this. And I went to another school initially. I don't know why Nancy's school didn't show up on my search site, but it didn't. And so I went to this other one, and it wasn't as good, but it still was good enough that my chronic pain started to decrease and my sleep started to get better. And I no longer had to use a cane because my balance was a bit better and so on, you know? So I could see each time, oh, that's a bit better. Okay, so now in order to really learn more, I have to become certified. It's not like I was looking for a job. I just wanted to heal myself. So then I looked into the different things, and then I found NEFT, and I found the Harness program, which is a certification program that really emphasizes transforming yourself.
Yes.
So it's very deep, it's very long, more expensive than many, but oh my God, what it gives you that you can use for the rest of your life, because that's what changed my nervous system. When I graduated from Harness, I still hadn't gotten rid of all the mold neurotoxins completely. And yet I was happier and functioning well and so on. Life doesn't have to be perfect.
No.
But if you know how to manage your nervous system, man, that is a very big deal. So that's what NEFT and Conscious EFT did for me.
Right. And when I first learned about the nervous system, I was like, okay, yeah, the polyvagal theory, like over my head, kind of wasn't able to absorb it. But that was my trauma of don't shine in the world, Carol, stay small, Carol, don't show really who you are. And I never allowed myself to actually believe that I could be smart. And so when I started studying the nervous system, it took me a long time to actually even want to remember the words, because I was like sympathetic, parasympathetic. I couldn't even get the sense of those words. I now know why, because I was in such fight or flight studying that I couldn't. So what I would do is I would listen to a talk. I bought I did some Gabor Mate courses, some, I can't remember his name, Ahmed, something else, his spirituality with trauma and awakening courses, some Stephen Porges courses I bought and went through, and I would sit and tap as I was listening. And all of a sudden what happened is my nervous system started regulating while I was studying. And then I could start absorbing the material. Yes. And then in NEFT, what you do is you meet people that are like-minded. And then my friend Leanne and me, we meet every Friday, and we would start talking about the nervous system. And one day I had this whole big aha. The reason I lost the ability to sleep was because my nervous system was in overdrive. Everything else didn't matter. My nervous system was in overdrive. And then I could, but I never got to freeze. It got stuck on in overdrive in the fight or flight. Therefore, I lost all ability to fall asleep, stay asleep. Like it was horrible, like 2 sleeping pills. And I got like maybe 3 hours a night. Oh, right. It was, but then I got better because of tapping, not understanding that is because I had regulated my nervous system. And then I started like with my clients, bringing in some nervous system education. And the number one reason people don't sleep is because your nervous system is dysregulated. Yes. Like regulate your nervous system. You have to deal with the trauma. You have to deal with all that underlying reasons why your nervous system is dysregulated. But that's the number one reason people don't sleep. That's the number one reason people don't heal. Yes. So how can we educate? So this is now my like mission in life. How can we educate people of what your nervous system is and how to listen to your body when it's activated?
What's interesting, Carol, is that I never knew I was that anxious because it was normal. For me, right? And so lots of times people just kind of fake it till they make it. Yeah. They push themselves really hard, because if you just push yourself hard enough, by golly, you should be able to do this. So I think that having compassion for yourself for having been through so much, and just start to realize, oh goodness, it's because of my nervous system, right? And once you realize what a calm nervous system feels like, then then you notice when it's different. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so that's what I found too. Like now that I'm regulated most of the time, and like I have my moments where I will dysregulate because that's life. But how beautiful is it that we can then go regulate ourselves? And I'm going to bring our husbands into this because I think they deserve. God bless them. God bless them, right? When I didn't understand what was happening with me, it was really hard for me to have a conversation with my husband and explain anything, because I didn't know how to hold a conversation. And the more I did this work, and the more I started understanding the nervous system, and I started sharing with him, well, I feel this, but I don't know why. And then he would be like, well, what do you mean you don't know why? Because in his world, that he knew why he felt the way he felt. So the more we talked, the more healing I got to understand that I was acting from a trauma place in a lot of my interactions. And when the ha-ha started coming, it was like full force of like, oh, then I could forgive myself because I didn't act the way I did in certain situations with people because I was not a good person. I acted that way because something triggered my nervous system. And then I reacted and caused harm to other people and myself. And once I was able to like know that that happened because of my nervous system, I could then sit and tap and let the tears flow, because I have like lots of tears in my healing, and then just forgive myself for that action. And then I could go apologize to the people for what I did. But before then, I couldn't go apologize to the people because I just wanted to point at them that they were wrong. Because if they didn't act that way, then I wouldn't feel less crap, right? Yeah. But it's such a slow healing process. And that's what your book, for me, that's what I took out of your book, was the
it's okay for it to take time if you're going to do true deep healing and not just try to put a Band-Aid on it. Right?
One of the things I was hoping to inspire in people is I'm not giving people a map. This is what you do. What I'm doing is I just simply share my journey about all the different things and, the gifts that I got out of them. And people really, at some point, I think if you want to heal and you set that intention, intentions are powerful. You're basically putting an ask out into the universe. And the universe does respond. And boy, am I finding that the more honestly I ask and quickly I ask, the quicker the response. But it will actually nudge you in a certain direction. You have to be looking for it. So this is where the intention, if you set an intention and every day you think about that intention, this is what I intend. This is where I want to go in my life. This is what I'm passionate about. This is where I'm looking for answers. The answers will come, and it'll be different for different people. A person's intuition, if they look inside, there'll be a nudge and it'll feel right. It'll feel right every step along the way. When I say to my husband, I need this much money to go to this course down there because it feels like the right thing to do. The poor man. I mean, seriously, we didn't have a ton of money. So it was kind of like he loved me enough to know that if I thought it was really important, then it was important,
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to celebrate him and my husband, because my husband's the same, whatever it takes for me to heal, he is behind me 100%. And I just, even this past weekend, I was saying that to him, I would not be where I am without your support. And I want you to know that, like, I don't know how much I can actually tell you for you to get the depth of, I wouldn't be where I am without your support. And it was just so loving to be able to have that conversation, because we're at a point where I'm not done healing. You're not done healing. I don't think we're done until we're in the ground, like seriously, because that's what life is about coming and having this healing journey. But you're right. Your book didn't give us a step-by-step, but you wrote it in the way that people can envision the journey that they might need to go through if they're ready. And my intention for the last 6 months has been, I don't know if you've heard of the book, A Course in Miracle.
Yes.
In there, there's lesson 21 that says, I am determined to see things differently. And I have been repeating that for about 6 months. I am determined to see things differently. And then lesson 22 talks about your attack thoughts, of how you're attacking the world because you are defending yourself before the world can attack you. And those two lessons, I have been on them for 6 months because I am determined to see things differently. And I think your book was one of those gifts from the universe that allowed me to see my journey and process it. That's why it took so long with your book. Because one, I knew the author and I knew your journey and I could really feel you in the book. And then it was such a healing for me reading your book. So that's why I want people to well, because I think I got so much out of it that I want everybody to read it. And when I do have an in-person client, I'm like, what book do you want on my bookshelf? There's one you can read. And I've already sent it home to like 2 clients. So I've had clients read it too, that it helped them. So where can people buy your book? So how can they contact you, get a copy of your book?
Yeah, whether they want to contact me or whether they want to find the book or whether they want to find out more about anything to do with the book. It's at my website, Flo Levia, FLOLEV as in Vincent, IA, flolevia.com. And there's all different headings. So I've got a blog, there's where to buy the book, there's about the book, there's any interviews like yourself that'll probably end up on there, that sort of thing. So that's where they can contact me.
So I will actually put that in the description. So if anybody's looking to go buy Flo's book. And the last little bit that I would like to do before we disconnect here is I really want people that if they're ready for their healing to be able to, because we both love Nancy Forrester and the National EFT Training Institute here in Canada. It's where most of my healing happened, and same with you. So if people want to contact and find out more about conscious EFT, it's NEFTI, NEFTTI.com, the National EFT Training Institute. And I will also put that in the comments because you don't only take the courses with EFT to become a practitioner, you do it to learn more about yourself. And my husband, we keep saying this to each other, and he keeps saying it to me. And he says, even if your business didn't work, even if you didn't do this for a living, he goes, which I know you will, but even if all you got out of all of this was your own healing, just that has been worth all the hours and the money that I spent to be where I'm at, because we're both recognizing that I'm such a better person after having met Nancy and the National EFT Training Institute, and how it completely changed my life and my insides.
Yes.
I no longer look at the world and say, oh, it's their fault, or, oh, they did this wrong, or if somebody else would just do something different, I'd feel better.
Yes.
It really brought me inward to do my own journey. And that's what your book is too. It's that journey of self-healing. Any last words that you want people to know before we disconnect?
Yeah, actually, it's about EFT. Because I've had a lot of ups and downs in life, got a little bit better, got worse, got a little bit better, got worse, and so on. And I had a pretty deep dive somewhere between 60 and 65. It was nasty. But when I discovered that you can change your brain, particularly when I started EFT, I was 65. I'm 69 now. And in 2 years, I was like a different person. So it's not an overnight thing, but holy Hannah, it is huge. And I feel that EFT they're so kind, gentle, compassionate, even though maybe Zoom may not be my cup of tea. I know they're doing the courses on Zoom. They're so good at it about providing the support that people need. Don't worry about the how and the why or the anything. They will guide you and give you lovely, pre-course stuff to do, and then do the course. And you're going to find that, you don't even have to be nervous about, practicing a few things. They're so kind, and they really just take you step by step.
Yeah.
Because
and
if someone would have said to me at the end of harness, you're going to be like this, I would have said to them, dream on, right?
I know.
Like, really? So don't be intimidated. And they're very kind. It's just a step-by-step thing. You can go in it and know nothing.
Yeah. And so I often sit with Nancy on the trainings because I love it so much that I'm like, can I just attend and help you keep people? So they call us emotional mentors, where we go in the training and we're there and we're trained that if someone is maybe having a moment in the course where they feel overwhelmed or anything, we then spend time with them to make sure that they're okay, because Zoom allows us to do that. We can do like private breakout rooms. And what I found though in the courses, in the last 2 that I attended, Nancy does and Corby, they do such a good job at holding the safe place for the people with music when you come in, and with really asking questions. How are you feeling? Do you need something else? That people, the first day, they might be a little bit nervous. By day 3, nobody wants to leave. And the comments are always, we've never had a course or a training that has been this good. And even though it's deep dive into a lot of hard stuff, they make it so easy to understand. And so you don't need previous training. You need to do the pre-study. But if you have that done, those 6 hours before then, you can follow along with the course and get your first layer of like, aha, because they just keep coming after. So
don't you find that just makes you so excited? The first time you kind of think, oh my goodness, and you're so excited about it. That just gets you on a roll. This is why I say we're kind of like junkies in a good way, because you can see that as you move further and further along, you're getting more and more out of it, and it's changing you in a good way.
In a good way. And then you see the new people coming in, and then you see their progression, and you're like, wow, like I could witness their progression, and then it makes me look at my progression and go, wow, like this is an amazing program. So that's why I know we're talking a lot about Nancy in this program, but if anybody is ready to do some real deep healing, that's my number one recommendation for people to attend one of the training, and Nancy has things. And so I'll put the links to like the free trainings they have and stuff that you can actually look at some of the things they have and see if that's important for you. And at the same time, I'm always available, support@sleepsuccessacademy.com. Send me an email, book an optimal sleep assessment. We don't even have to talk about your sleep, just about any training or conscious EFT, or if you just want to know what would be your next step. I'm here to help anybody, because I love this work. I can't imagine ever stopping doing this because I feel so good, and I want other people to have the ability to feel this good. And it goes by regulating your nervous system. Like, I know it makes it sound simple, but once you understand the nervous system, it can be that simple. How do I bring myself back to calm? And
it's the missing link. I think doctors, and I even went to an integrative functional medicine type clinic for 9 years. That was the one thing they were kind of missing. They were doing all these other things, but they were kind of missing that whole nervous system thing. So it was like the missing link.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
And you bring that in the book, and so beautifully to say that once you discovered the nervous system and then NEFT. So I want to say thank you, Flo, for an amazing interview. I can't wait for this to go live for everybody to see it. And again, if you want to contact Flo, flolevia.com. The link is in the description below.
Thank you, Carol. I appreciate it.